happy that President Obama visited us a few weeks ago, and now we're honored to welcome back to The View for her first visit, the First Lady of the United States.
Third visit.
Third visit. What did I say? Third visit. She's got a wonderful book out, which we're going to talk about in a bit. We have plenty of time. Please welcome the First Lady, Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
About gardens and what we can do to be healthy and so forth. Here's your book, but we're going to talk about beautiful pictures and all about gardens and getting healthier and so on. However,
yes,
before we get to that, we have a few questions we'd like to ask you.
Absolutely.
In an interview just recently, you said, and I quote, that you are sometimes unsure if you are a classic First Lady and if the things you do are okay.
Yeah.
So why do you feel this way, and who is your idea of a classic First Lady?
I have never seen a First Lady hula hoop on the South Lawn, jump double dutch. So there's a lot of...
Martha Washington didn't do that?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think the president said the Dougie. You know,
right, the Dougie, you know. There are a lot of people who talk about it. They think it's the Doogie. It's like,
do you really have doubts? Do you say to yourself, maybe I've gone too far?
You know, it's not doubts. It's just really wondering, you know, not too many people have done what I've done. But my motto is I have to be authentically me. You know, because, you know, this job, you guys can smell inauthentic. Yeah, that. Right. You know, when people are phony, right? You know, and to do this job and to do it well, you've got to be yourself. So, you know, I just kind of go with me.
You're very popular, too. You know, so it's working. You're very popular.
Thank you.
People love you.
Thank you. Well, people are very kind.
In a special position, and we've talked about this before, because your husband is our first black president, you are our first black First Lady. Do you think in this campaign, which is getting fairly ugly, that racism is still going to be a part of it?
Yeah, I think people, you know, want to know that we live in a country where there's fairness and equity, where people have a fair shot, you know, where kids like myself who grew up, you know, with parents that didn't go to college, didn't have all the opportunities, went to public schools, that we all have an opportunity to succeed. And I think people are focused on that. For me, I know that I'm focused on the world that I want to leave for my kids.
But do you think that racism is going to play a part in this campaign?
Race is still an issue in this country, but I tell you right now, Barack Obama is president of the United States, and he's done a phenomenal job. And this country put him in office.
That's right.
And this country...
And they will again.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Let me ask you this, because
I have to follow up with that for a minute, which is that, you know, he is under assault, personal attacks, which I'm personally offended by, and they upset me, and I hate it. But
you and Grandma, hey, Mom.
Your mother. Yeah, I wonder if you are as upset as people like me, or, you know, and what do you say to him when he's getting these attacks? They don't believe he was born here. All sorts of lies are out there. What do you do?
You know, the one thing I get to do is I get to travel around the country, and so does he. Yeah. And the majority of what people give us is a lot of love and respect and appreciation, and that's the country that we're working for. And that's what we tell our kids. We remind them that we live in a decent country.
How do you?
You know,
so you don't let it get to you.
You know, because the truth is something else. You know, there's what you hear, and then there's the truth. And the truth is this: there's a warmth and a connection. And I want America to understand we have more. Elizabeth and I, we talked about this before. There's more that unites us than divides us. That is true. And I don't want anybody to get discouraged from that kind of chatter, because the truth is we're all fighting for a decent America.
I wish more people could see that too, Mrs. Obama. I mean, we've had
show that in this show. This is one of those venues where you all don't always disagree, but you're friends, you respect each other, and that's what Barack models. You know, his motto is they go small, you go big. That means you always take the high ground because you don't get lost in the chatter and the noise, and that's why he's been such a phenomenal president. He has kept his eye focused on getting this country back on track, and that's the president we need. I'm going to be working for that man.
Well, you know, First Lady, I love what you say, what the president does for the world. But I heard that he does something special for you at night. President Obama, your husband. I wonder, he tucks you in at night.
You know,
You tucks him into bed at night?
He does.
Really? Why is that?
That has always been, you know, a tradition. Stop that.
We won't ask the follow-up questions.
It's one of many ways that Barack shows me and the girls how special we are. I mean, and that's the thing that touches me about him. I don't care what's on his plate. You know, I don't care what he's struggling with. When he steps off that elevator into our residence, he is Barack and Dad.
He loves you.
And there's just those little things that you do that remind you that, you know, I still got you.
Does he read your bedtime story?
No.
But don't you share that earlier than him, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I'm, you know,
You're up with the girls. What
at
do you
9 o'clock, I'm barely hanging in there. Malia now is staying up later than me doing homework. It's really pathetic.
About the election, how do you, because this is going to be, people say this will be the toughest election. Obviously, there's a lot of political pressure, but as a family, how do you talk to the girls now? Because they're older. The perspective is probably a little different than it was 4 years ago. What do you say to them about practically what could not happen moving into November? Do you talk about it?
You know, the thing that I always want my girls to know is that their life is good either way. Okay. Because, you know, with kids, they just, in the end, they want to know that their world, you know, as Malia has said before, Dad, sound like you had a tough day. Too bad for you. You know, glad I'm not the president. But, you know, they understand that if their world is secure no matter what, and what, you know, they've grown to understand is that home is wherever we are. You know, we've been able to make the White House home in a very special way, and that takes place no matter where you go. And Dad is always going to be Dad. So, you know, they're good. You know, politics is tough. Yeah. You know, that's just sort of the nature of the beast. And the more you're in it, the more you just sort of, you know, you have to have a thick skin in this thing, and your kids do too. But the girls, they are amazing. They keep us grounded. Yeah.
Well, so you guys have been married 20 years.
20 years.
Yes.
In October.
And we were told by the president.
Yeah, what did he say?
Well, he mentioned that you like to tease. No, he didn't say much about gifts, but he said you like
what he was going to get.
No, he didn't tell us. We did ask though. That you tease him.
Oh, mercilessly.
Mercilessly.
Oh yeah.
Does he tease you?
No, that's part of the deal.
I want to ask you, because we do want to have time to talk about the gardens and so on, but there have been rumors that if the president is not reelected, or even in the future, that you might consider running for political office.
Those are other people's rumors.
Yeah. So would you ever? I mean, you would be a very popular candidate.
Not.
You rule it out. You would not.
I am not interested in politics, never have been. I mean, one of the things you learn after 48 years of life, you know what your passions and your gifts are. Now, the one thing that is certain, I will serve. I will serve in some capacity. I mean, the work that I'm doing with military families is a forever proposition because they will always need a voice out there. They will always need a country standing strong. And if I have any kind of platform, I'm going to be their voice. But there are so many ways to serve. And being president is one of the hardest ways, and that's one of the reasons why I tell Barack I'm a little smarter than him. I picked the easier job. No, just kidding.
You know,
but no, I have no interest in politics. Never have, never will.
You should have no doubts about being First Lady. Whatever the party, you're really a very special First Lady. And we're going to be back to talk about what really is Mrs. Obama's most important message. So stay with us. We got a lot to talk about. And food to taste. Food.
Next.
We are back. back with First Lady Michelle Obama. Now, Mrs. Obama, congratulations. This is your first book, American Grown.
Thank you.
And you wrote it because you started a garden at the White House 3 years ago. So it's so funny because you've never gardened in your life.
Yeah, no, only picking weeds in the backyard with my aunt and grandma, but never had a garden of my own.
And I do want to interrupt you to say that all proceeds of the book American Grown goes to the National Park Association. But if you never
National Park Foundation.
The National Park Foundation, excuse me. If you've never gardened before, what on earth made you create a garden?
You know, it really started from my own personal challenges with my kids' health. I mean, before coming to the White House, Barack and I were like every busy family. He's working, traveling. I've got a full-time job. You know, we're probably eating out too much, not cooking enough, you know, slipping in those sugary drinks. And my pediatrician pulled us aside and said, you know, you might want to look at the girls' diets. And I was kind of stunned because we were healthy people, and I thought I was doing everything I was supposed to do. But the way life has changed for kids, you know, now kids are spending an average of 7.5 hours a day in front of a screen, right?
That's
you know,
terrible.
gym recess in many schools around this country have been eliminated.
Right.
A lot of fast food, and things are just getting out of control. So I had to take a look at my own house, and I found that, you know, with a few minor changes, putting in more water, adding more vegetables, really small things, because my kids were already active, that it made the difference. But one of the things that got them more focused on vegetables was taking them to farmers markets and having them engaged in the process of understanding food. So I thought then and there, they would understand where it came from, they would select it, they'd be a part of the process, they would own eating vegetables more. So I thought, what an amazing platform to maybe dig up the South Lawn in the White House and
Do you actually
plant
do
a
the
garden.
digging yourself?
All the digging. No, I don't do the digging. I do some of the digging. We have kids who help us. I mean, when
hundreds of kids
we've had hundreds of kids, and that was part of the vision, that we could get kids engaged in the whole conversation about where your food comes from and what it means, and that was the jumping off point for our whole Let's Move initiative.
Right.
How to begin that conversation, because how do you talk to families about what their kids are eating? Because this is, you know, it's a personal subject, and nobody wants anybody telling them what to do with their kids, and you've got to be very careful. But when we start with kids and we have them leading the conversation, they make the changes. Oftentimes, they're the catalyst for change in their homes and in their schools. And we've just seen this discussion blossom in ways that I hadn't expected, and it all started with the garden.
You know, we did a program, I think a week ago, on obesity, and the fact that it's a national problem.
It's becoming an international problem as well.
And you just brought up the fact that many schools don't have recess, or the playgrounds are all broken down. So as the President and First Lady, what can you really do to change this and combat what is a national problem?
Well, for me, in my position as First Lady, the biggest thing I have is a platform. I always say this: there's a bright shining light chasing me around, looking at what shoes I have on, and you know, all the, you know, what's on my nails and all that. And I figure if I stand in front of some good issues, that light will shine on it as well. And that's been the case with childhood obesity. That, you know, we just, what people need is knowledge, information, and resources and tools to make the decisions in their own families, in their own communities. And that's what Let's Move is about. We're asking everybody to step up to the plate. So we've seen grocery store manufacturers reformulate their products. We've seen restaurant chains changing their kids' menus. We've got a new nutrition legislation passed in Congress. We're going to see the first changes in 30 years in the standards of school lunches. They're going to be implemented this fall. And again, you've had organizations and groups working on these issues for decades, but the platform of the First Lady, I've been able to hopefully add a voice and elevate this issue a bit more. So it...
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go up.
Do you think that you and the President could somehow get schools to reintroduce recess outside so that children can get up and Because this has been my pet peeve is that, you know, if kids can't get it, because we weren't allowed to be in the house. Right. You come home, you did your homework, and your mother said, go outside.
That's Even in the city, I did it too.
Yeah, and I think that if we could maybe, if part of this could include the schools to get exercise.
And it absolutely
just
does.
To do it.
It absolutely, part of Let's Move is working directly with our schools,
right.
And having these conversations and arming our children and parents with, you know, the information about